everybody! Welcome to the Good Evening Kitties podcast, a Tales from the Crypt review. My name is Melissa, your ghostess with the mostest, and today's episode is Season 3, Episode 2, Carrion Death. This is a pretty fun episode and pretty gory for most of the episodes in the Tales from the Crypt, at least so far. And so to review this special episode, I brought Mike back. Hi, Mike.
Hey, I'm here because I love Kyle MacLachlan and everything he's ever done.
Yeah, this is one of your favorites.
Even Showgirls.
Right? Yeah.
I just fast forward to his scenes.
Showgirls, fun times. So, this is one of your favorite episodes, though?
It's not one of my favorites, per se. It's just,
Really?
It's fun.
I'm kind of surprised.
It's definitely fun. I love how the vulture is just following the guy to the whole desert.
Oh, yeah. The vulture is great. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it again. It's Season 3, Episode 2, Carrion Death. And as always, John Kassir does the voice of the Crypt Keeper, and Danny Elfman does the theme song. This episode aired June 15th, 1991. It was directed by Stephen E. D'Souza, who also directed the Street Fighter movie. The screenplay was also by Stephen E. D'Souza. It stars Kyle MacLachlan, as Mike mentioned from the movie Showgirls, as well.
I don't think he would appreciate being remembered for that.
As well as TV's Twin Peaks.
Yes.
And the Flintstones.
And Dune. He played Paul Muad'Dib.
It also stars George Del Hoyo from TV's Saint Elsewhere, and he did a voice on the movie Rango. And it also features a great vulture performance by the vulture. I decided to put him in the cast as well because he or she does. Star. Yeah, he or she does a very good job.
What was the vulture's name?
It didn't have a name.
It didn't have a name?
I didn't see any.
They didn't credit
I'll have to look for
vulture.
the credit. Maybe it had a name.
Speciest, man.
But yeah, so we'll go ahead here. I'm going to also read the description of the episode. Here we go for Carrion Death. A robber fleeing in the desert kills the pursuing cop who cuffs him, but the lawman swallows the handcuff key before dying.
Way to give away, everything.
It's still, it's fine. That's not that bad. I mean, it kind of sets you up for this is, he's going to have to drag him around. That could be interesting. So yeah, the episode opens up with the Crypt Keeper, and he's really hamming it up this time. He's dressed up as a traffic cop.
A straight state trooper, more like it.
And it's kind of, state trooper is what I meant. And it's kind of cool because he's got this little outfit on, and you see him actually walk in this episode. So you'll see legs moving, and he steps on a dead rat and walks over and gets off his little motorcycle and comes over and sits at his desk. And he's got the little sunglasses on, and
yeah, he's got his aviator glasses.
Yeah, and his little badge and little hat. And he's really throwing the puns out in this one. He's got this whole thing about, instead of cops and robbers, he talks about chops and clobbers. And he's just really having a good time opening up this episode. Again, the crypt, of course, looks great, and I love his little outfit. And even the EC...
I love it.
They made an EC Comics cover for this episode, and it's got Kyle MacLachlan's character and the vulture pulling out his eye, and it has the eye
plucking out his eye, and it's the tendon stretching 4 inches out of his face, and it's well, we know what we're in for now.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy. Again, like I said, this episode's pretty gory, and even though it's only in the last 5 minutes, it's still oh my gosh, it just makes you wince. So this opens up here, and Kyle MacLachlan is trying to play this tough guy.
I think he's able to do it.
He does a pretty good...
The problem is he plays so many relatable, cool characters. You just can't reconcile, this is Dale Cooper doing this?
Yeah, because it's around that... I mean, it was 91, so it was around the time of Twin Peaks. But he's doing a really good job, just being mean and everything. He's robbing from, I think it was a hotel or something, it looks like. I don't know, he's got a bag full of money. And he's got stole a car, and he's taken off, and it kind of it brings up a radio broadcast about him.
We interrupt this program with an update on the manhunt for Earl Raymond Diggs, who escaped Yuma Prison just hours before his scheduled execution for the brutal murders of 3 Phoenix nursing students. Diggs apparently feigned illness during the night, and when the prison doctor was called, seized him as a hostage. Diggs killed both the doctor and a prison guard before escaping in the doctor's late model Cadillac. State and local police in 5 counties have been alerted to be on the lookout for Diggs, who is believed to be headed for the Mexican border. Diggs is described as 5'11", dark hair and blue eyes. He is armed and extremely dangerous.
And very rich.
His name is Earl Raymond Diggs. He took the doctor's Cadillac. That's what he's driving. So yeah, he's a pretty bad guy, and he's, seeming pretty relaxed, but then he can hear the radio broadcast, and he realizes, they're on his tail, which of course they are. He thinks if he just gets to Mexico, everything will be fine.
Yeah.
So that's mainly his goal.
Which I know that's a big thing in fiction, just crossing the border.
Yeah.
But really, in real life,
and then
does that even work?
Yeah.
I mean, the Mexican authorities aren't going to be just like, nope, and send you right back, or
well,
prison
I
you
mean,
themselves.
maybe in the 90s it was like that still. I don't remember. Because wasn't there a thing, or maybe it's just in movies, where if you get over the border, it's fine?
Well, it used to be big thing that if you cross state lines or something like that, then they wouldn't be able to. And for a while there, I think in our own history, that kind of made sense, but I think you can still get arrested, though. It's obviously something that we have not researched. Yeah. So that's, not to our credit.
Hey, if you know, email me at goodeveningpod@gmail.com and let me know about the 1991 jurisdiction laws in Mexico.
There you go.
But yeah, so then he's driving down this dirt road in the desert. You can tell it's real dusty and sandy. It's a great place to shoot this scene. And there's a what did you call it? Highway patrolman?
Yeah, that's just
I don't know why I can't ever think of that. Is chasing him, and immediately
state trooper.
Immediately, Diggs, played by Kyle MacLachlan, is immediately like, "Oh shit!" And it's like, well, what do you expect? Someone's gonna come after you. And so it's just one guy, but this guy has been, is after him. And
he doesn't even try to get him to pull over. He just starts shooting at him. He pulls up right alongside him, aims at his head, and starts plugging away.
Yeah, this cop is pretty hardcore. He basically makes it so that the guy crashes. He's trying to shoot at him through the window. Like, he's really after him. He really wants to get this guy. And so he throws him off the bike. The cop gets back on the bike, and he's chasing him still down the road. And Kyle MacLachlan, or Earl, thinks that he's lost him. But then he realizes he's still after him, and he skids around a turn to kind of face him and wants to play chicken and starts driving the car back towards the guy with his gun, shooting at this cop.
Shooting out the window at the cop.
Yeah, it's a pretty good scene. I mean, it's like a good action scene, which you don't always see in Tales from the Crypt episodes sometimes.
Oh, whenever it does happen, they tend to be pretty well done, though.
Which this part is kind of weird. Like, what he does is...
Okay, shall we describe this scene for the viewer?
Okay, so he's taking the car towards the cop's bike, and he's shooting at him, and at one point the cop, I guess, gets either clipped or just jumps off the bike and rolls, and his bike continues to drive.
Yeah, and as the riderless motorcycle is careening towards his car, he has this "oh shit" moment, and he just jumps out of the car. The motorcycle hits the car, and of course the car explodes into flames.
Yes, so much explosion.
Because that's just how we roll in Hollywood. We gotta blow stuff up. If you nudge that boat under the pier, it's gotta blow up. Yeah, so it's a little silly. Like the bike's going straight for him, and Kyle gets out. And I'm just going to call him Kyle. And he gets out, and the bike hits it. And yeah, literally, as soon as he hits it, it just explodes the whole car. And I'm like, there really probably wasn't even that much gas in that bike. And that's not really it happens. Really. I mean, well, for one thing, the bike breaks the door and crashes through the window. And actually, the motorcycle crashes right into the car. And as they get inside the car, and then it blows up.
It didn't really seem like it was going that fast.
It wouldn't have...
But yeah, and then so this vulture... at the same time can see the smoke from the explosion. He's kind of sitting on a rock, probably 10, 15 miles away, and you can kind of see it, and he's kind of curious. He's up there being a vulture, and I love vultures. So that's why one other reason I put them in the cast. I think they're really interesting birds. So. Oh yeah, it cuts to the vulture watching this whole thing, and the plume of smoke from a couple miles off on a cliff Which
top.
For the vulture, he's like, oh, could be some dead bodies over there. But it just heads over there, waits for.
Did you just do the McDonald's theme?
I just said boo foo foo. He's like, I'm loving it. That's when he heads over. He just waits for people to crash on the road. So Kyle MacLachlan's character, Diggs, he makes it okay out of this explosion, and he gets up, and there's pieces of the car and the bike and stuff all over the place for some reason.
It's fucking ridiculous.
He gets up, and he's got this bag of money he's grabbing, which is hilarious because it actually has a $sign on it. Like a money bag, like he was...
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Does it? Oh, you're right.
It has a $sign on it. I'm like, all right. And so he's collecting all his $sign bags of money, and he decides he needs to stay away from the cops and stay off the road, especially now that his car is all messed up. And he decides that if he can walk the 25 miles to Mexico, he'll be okay. Which technically the cops will probably still be waiting for him at the border.
The car looks really, really good on one whole side of it for being on fire.
Yeah, it's still on. I mean, it looks fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. And so he's by all the cacti and everything and walking around. And he notices the cop is laying down the cliff a little, and he looks pretty beat up, and he's like, oh, good. He's dead, and I love this. Yeah, he gives him the finger.
10-4, asshole.
Yeah.
10-4, asshole. Over and out.
The man who just delights in death.
Yeah, he was so glad that that guy got hurt, which I feel like you would maybe run over and make sure he was dead, but I guess he just wants to get out of there because it's hot, you know, even though they all have like 3 layers of clothes on.
But if you went and checked, then that would negate some of the drama that's to come.
That's true.
It's not in the script, Melissa.
I know, I'm sorry I didn't read the script. And so the cop it's also, you know, now Kyle MacLachlan's character is looking at a map trying to figure out which way to go. Again,
Do we know the character's name?
Earl Diggs.
Yeah, we'll call him Earl.
Okay, fine, I'll call him Earl. Earl's looking at a map, and that's, like I said, he figures out he needs to walk the 25 miles to Mexico. And at the same time, the cop is kind of getting ready to, like, getting up and trying to feel, you know, where he's at and look for the guy. And he's still, I give it to the cop, I mean, he still got hurt and everything, and he's still wanting to find this guy. Like,
this guy's like RoboCop.
Yeah, he really is.
He has got to bring this guy in, dead or alive.
Yeah, and at this time is when the beautiful little vulture shows up on top of the car and scares the crap out of him by going like, ah! And this is a very chatty vulture. It's a great looking vulture. I love it.
There's a lot to say.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't...
Even if the vulture is just lecturing Earl on his poor life choices.
Yeah, and even watching
it's
it,
like,
though...
I heard on the radio! I heard what you did, you asshole!
And this vulture's like, yeah, and he's like talking. And it almost sounds kind of like they make him almost say words sometimes, you know? And I'm like, okay. Because when I'm watching it, I'm kind of like, are vultures really that chatty? And I looked it up, and it says they can be talkative, but they're...
It's Tales from the Crypt, and you're analyzing whether or not a vulture should sound like it's enunciating human words.
I can't help it. So, yeah, so this lovely little vulture is freaking him out, and Cal's just like...
Sorry, Birdie.
Yeah, he's just like, you're not going to get me.
This buffet's been canceled.
Yeah, Earl is like, you're not going to get me. You can go over and eat that cop over there. He's ready to be eaten, you know?
Sorry, Birdie. This buffet's been canceled. But there's civil servant lunch over that hill.
And
the vulture's like, no, I'd rather eat you. I'm just gonna follow you.
Yeah, I know. The vulture's just watching him like, oh, yeah, you're heading into that desert. Yeah, I'm gonna need to follow you.
This reminds me, every time anyone just sets off into the desert, I'm just reminded of Tuco and Blondie and Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh.
It's not usually not a good idea to try to walk across a desert without water or anything else.
So the cop is after him. He's got he sees the vulture as well. Vulture also scares the cop. It's kind of pointing, the vulture almost looks like he's like pointing towards the desert with his beak, like, hey. And so the cop's tracking him, he's got his gun, and it's also kind of a bummer because none of them have any water or any food. You know, they're just kind of like heading out into the desert. But I feel like this cop knows a little bit more about surviving in the desert than this felon. And so the cop's basically talking to the bird like, I saw him first, I'll take care of him.
I don't think that anyone knows how to do anything. They're just driven by impulses at this point.
I guess.
You know, Earl Diggs by his evil and his greed, the cop by justice.
But at least the cop, like, took off a layer of... You beat good. Gus is in the studio right now.
Tried to calm him down, but apparently that did not work.
He was getting the zoomies earlier and had to play with them, and now he's doing okay. He's just being a little chatty. So if we hear more from him, that's who that is. It's just Gus hanging out.
It's just the resident cat.
To hear more from Gus, check out Season 2, Episode 11, where he makes an appearance. Anyway, so this cop at least, like, took some clothing off and kind of laid it on his neck to, like, absorb the sweat. You know, he's kind of doing some stuff.
I guess.
And the vultures, you know, knowing how vultures are, the vulture's just like, pee on your feet. That'll help. That's what I do.
I thought they do that for, like, mating rituals.
No, they defecate and urinate on their feet to keep cool.
Oh.
And then when they eat, they usually go butt first. It's softer and
well, why not?
Everything. Anyway, fun lesson for everyone out there.
Imagine if they would have had the cover of the EC comic, like the vulture plunging into his butthole.
Yeah, imagine if that would have been how it went down.
Eyes.
Like, instead of climbing up on his chest, it just starts, like, going for his jeans. He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know?
And then, like, you see it, like, tear out like his colon.
Oh,
that would be great.
Anyway, want to look up more on vultures. It's very interesting. Anyway, so Earl is walking through the desert with his money. He's just real hot and sweaty and tired, and, you know, he doesn't have any sunglasses or anything on. And that vulture's still kind of trailing him, you know. And he's just kind of resting and walking around and figuring out which way he needs to go. So the cop catches up with him, and when Earl's taking a smoke break, because that's what you want to do in the heat, is smoke. He's sitting there smoking, and then all of a sudden the gunshot goes off and scares him, and he jumps, you know, he takes off running with his bag of money. I think he leaves one bag behind. So the cop, you know, knows he's onto him, and he's kind of tracking him down and just kind of going after him and trailing him. And so Kyle MacLachlan's character Earl hides and ends up getting away. Like, he hides behind some, like, bush stuff.
Yeah, this is like a cross between desert and scrubland. You know, it's not like it's a flat expanse. It's not Death Valley.
And so it's been some time, and Earl's still walking through the desert, heading closer and closer to Mexico, and with this vulture trailing behind him. And he finds this sign that says, "Hola, gringo." Should I not say it like that? Should I just say "Hola, gringo"?
I don't know, man. You want to get into the character, you know?
And it's a sign for a cantina, Jose's Cantina, or Jose's Border Cantina. And he's hoping, like, if he can find it, like, the sign fell over, so he's picking up the sign and he's trying to figure out which way the arrow goes so he can find this cantina, because he's talking to himself, hoping that there'll be some cervezas and, senoritas, he says, and some beers and tacos.
Well, the sign isn't even in a place where there's a road, so I'm not seeing, like, how people would even have known about it.
Yeah, it's a really old sign. Like, he finds the place, and it's just like it's a shack.
Unless it's like a Dusk Till Dawn kind of situation, in which they want people who are lost to come to the place so the vampires can eat them.
Yeah, and it's just like an old abandoned restaurant. Earl gets there, and he's kind of bummed about it or upset, and he's checking around for anything that he could drink or eat, and it's
just a shack.
Yeah, it's a shack that it's been
shack.
worn out. There's no more like windows really or doors, and the cop is still after him. The cop found the cantina sign, so now he's kind of figuring out, I'll head over there and see if he's over there. While Earl is over here checking out all the area and figuring it out, the cop shows up and they start fighting. It's a pretty good fight scene. Wrestling and fighting and everything throughout the old restaurant. And, of course, the vulture's sitting on the signs just watching them.
See, that's a very well shot scene, actually, because right as they're moving across the window, then the vulture just lands on a tree right in frame, and it's...
And there's one window here, but the whole side of the wall and everything this place has been gone for a long time. And as they're fighting, the cop slaps on a pair of handcuffs to Earl, and he says, "I'm taking you in. I told you I would. I'm going to." And that's when Earl grabs the gun and shoots him right in the chest. Pretty good. I mean, it's right in the heart there. And they're already handcuffed together. And this part is the best because this cop is a badass.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't even care. Like, he just got shot.
He says, no, so Earl is like, "Fuck you." And the cop's like, "No, fuck you."
Yeah.
And swallows the key to the...
And he looks right at Earl and just swallows the key.
That's
like,
great.
It makes even a point to be like, make a big gulp sound,
Oh, that's tasty. Yeah.
Like I said, Diggs, I'm taking you in. Fuck you.
No. Fuck you. No!
And then he kind of falls over out the window a little bit there and pulls Kyle MacLachlan's hand out with him and dies. And that's when Earl is like, "No!" He's like, "Crap, I can't believe this. It's so hot. I gotta drag this guy around. There's no water."
It is white hot. It is so bright out.
It's very bright. And
I think this is like the brightest Tales from the Crypt episode we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty bright. They really do a good job of making you feel like it's so hot and blinding. And he's out there dragging the guy around by his arm in a circle while he's thinking to himself, trying to figure out how to get these handcuffs off. And personally, I feel like you could find something to get these handcuffs off, or at least cut the guy's arm off. At the time, he's not really thinking about it. He just wants to get to this border, and he's mad about the situation. He's glad the cop's dead, but at least, now he's got to drag this guy. So he's trying to figure out what he wants to do. But he really doesn't seem too concerned from trying to free himself from the cop.
No.
He's just kind of like, I guess I'll carry this 160-pound man with me.
I mean, at the end of the day, he might have animal cunning, but the guy's a meathead.
Yeah.
He's good at murdering people, not so much critical thinking.
So he picks up the cop. He takes off his shirt, which is hunky Kyle MacLachlan. Takes off his shirt, and he's kind of cracking jokes and stuff. And he pulls the cop up and puts him on his shoulders and starts carrying the cop with him through the desert. Well, I guess he opens up his shirt still. He has a good line here where he kind of talks about what exactly he did and how the press is screwing him over.
And you know what's worse than the goddamn lawyers and the goddamn judges? It's the fucking newspapers, man. They tried me in the press. They called me a sick, perverted sadist. That's just total bullshit. I didn't mutilate a single one of those girls until after they were already dead.
As if that's supposed to be like, oh, you're such a hero.
All right, Ed Kemper.
Yeah, he's like, thank you for all that. And then a sandstorm comes through, and
of course.
And it's kind of neat though, because he's like dragging the cop with him, and the sandstorm gets too intense, so he decides to hide underneath the cop through the sandstorm, which I thought was kind of smart. Like, he covers himself up with it, and then when the sandstorm passes, he just pushes the cop off of him, and figures out where to go, and spend the night like that. So it's basically been probably 12, 14 hours he's been out there, maybe? Because he said, what a night. So
the passage of time is very hard to gauge.
I just feel like he would be very thirsty. And so he sees the hill before the border, and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And he starts humming La Cucaracha.
He kisses the dead cop, because that's just, how he rolls.
And he picks him up, and he's like, oh, we're so close, we're almost there. And so they're heading towards the hill, and he's climbing, and he's bringing him up, and this whole time the vulture's still trailing him. He gets to the top of the hill, and he's real excited. He's like, oh my gosh, we made it. All we gotta do is go downhill. And then that's when, like, he's kind of propping the cop up when he says that. And so he's not paying attention, because he's like, oh, cool, all we gotta do is go downhill. There's the border. And the cop starts falling back and pulls him down by his arm, which has to really hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Pulls him down by his arm with the handcuff all the way back down the hill he just walked up.
I can't believe it! Mexico! Our friendly neighbor to the south! I couldn't have done it without you, pal! Oh my God, it's all downhill from here.
And it's a pretty good tumble. They fall pretty hard.
It's like, in good Tales from the Crypt fashion, you don't feel anything but contempt for the protagonist anyway. You want them to die, so this is kind of like, yay.
And he's really starting to get dehydrated and tired and getting blurry vision, and he's just starting to get real dramatic.
You ain't kidding me.
Yeah. And so that's when he's like, finally now he thinks to himself as he's getting delirious, now I need to get out of here. I need to get off this cop. And in his blinding dizziness, he decides, kind of smartly, I guess, but he should have done this a long time ago. He takes the badge off the cop, and it's kind of got a sharp point on the bottom a little bit. It's because, it's like a real metal badge. Takes that off, and he takes a stick, and he kind of
makes a little axe.
Yeah, makes a little axe out of the badge, and decides to cut the cop's arm off. But because he's so dizzy and dehydrated, this is where all the gore kind of comes in, and it's literally one right after the other for like 2 minutes, where you're just like, no, okay. And so here's where it gets pretty gross. He puts the cop's arm up on this rock, and he's gonna cut off the cop's arm, and so he goes to do it, and again he gets real blurry, and he ends up hitting his own arm, and it's pretty gross.
Yes, it switches to a POV view. Everything is blurred. You can't really see anything. And he's like, oh man, he's trying to aim so he can actually cut.
Guys, gotta be quiet. We're getting ready to watch some gore.
We have the cat back again, apparently.
And I love it though, because as soon as he...
Boy.
Hi, kitty. And I love this though, because like as soon as he goes, his face right after he does it, he's like 1, 2, 3, and hits it to go. And then immediately it's like that thing where you realize you missed it. And he pulls up this hand, and it's just like hanging off by the wrist.
He cut like deep into his wrist.
He hit his own wrist, and it's just like spurting blood. It's so gross. And then he tumbles back off the cliff, and he's it's so bad.
This is great because it's like he's just pulling off his own hand.
So what he ends up doing is they kind of tumble back, and they're still kind of on a cliff part, and so when he goes to fall after he cuts his hand almost completely off by the wrist, he is hanging just by that wrist off the side of the cliff, and I guess does his wrist actually rip off?
Yep.
Oh, it looks like it's still...
Oh, it's weird because it looks like there's a fake hand for a split second, and it looks like it falls off, but then we see the hand's still attached, kind of.
He ends up falling pretty far, and his hand is all messed up. I think it might have it was able to slip out a little. And he falls really far, and he lands, and he wakes up, and you can tell right away something's wrong, because it's showing him from, the shoulders up, and his neck is all messed up. And so you get right away, you got, the hand, then you get this broken neck, and he immediately wakes up and realizes he can't move, and that he can't feel his legs, and that he has broken his neck and paralyzed himself from the neck down from this fall. And it's pretty gross. You can see, you definitely see where it's all messed up. And then this is where the vulture's kind of coming down, it's my turn to shine. And he sees the vulture and he's immediately like,
God, I'm paralyzed! Oh, God! Oh, Jesus, not you! Oh, shoot! Get away! No! Get away! No, I'm not really dead!
and this vulture's like, yeah, okay, yeah, the hand did come off.
Yeah, the hand did.
See, it looked like it was there.
Yeah, because when he's falling, it looks like he still has it.
Yeah, he might have. His hand did get it broke off at the wrist there, and he fell. And yeah, his leg is like all askew. Everything is broken. It's pretty bad. And that's when the vulture's like, cool, it's my turn. And he comes over and he kind of walks up onto Earl's chest. And the whole time, Earl's still alive, and he's just yelling for him to get away. And so it's like, he's saying he's not dead. And immediately the vulture jumps up and plucks his eye out real fast.
No hesitation.
And it's pretty gross. Not as gross as the wrist thing, I think.
Both of his eyes.
Yeah, he just plucks both his eyes out.
Oh, man.
And it just shows him, like, eating it, which I think they probably took a dummy and, like, filled it with meat and let the vulture just go crazy on it. That kills him because, I mean, this guy's beak is pretty long. I think it probably went into his brain. That's what's so intense about this episode, because one after another, you got like the hand, then he falls, he's got a broken neck, and then bam, the eyes go, and you're just like, ah, okay, like
hardcore mutilation.
Yeah, which really, you know, if you think about it, that's what he said he did to those girls.
Yeah. Oh.
And
the
right. Vulture did it.
Poetic justice.
Yeah, and the vulture did it before he even died.
Yeah.
So, you know, he got what was coming to him. Unfortunately, the cop died too, but
yeah, that kind of sucks.
Earl Diggs is dead. Just probably a mile outside of the border.
Because I kind of want to, given his single-mindedness, I want there to be a show, like at least one episode about that cop. Just like, you know, I mean, he doesn't call for backup. He just single-handedly chases this guy like he's an avenging angel. You know,
that's the end of the episode. It cuts to the Crypt Keeper, and he's throwing out those puns, and Crypt Keeper, you're so punny. The best Crypt Keeper pun is,
poor Diggs. Here today, leftovers tomorrow. Boy, talk about flipping someone the bird. Personally, I'm with the buzzards. Except I like my meat a little more well done. Cook 'em, Dano!
yes, I get it. Cook 'em, Dano. Instead of book 'em, Dano.
Awful.
He's still got the little cop outfit on. He's having fun. So that was the end of the episode there. There's no trivia from IMDb for this episode. So all in all, I think it's a good episode. It's really fun. It's definitely one that people remember.
It's very simple. Then again, a lot of the Tales from the Crypt episodes tend to be very, very to the point, which is always makes them really fun, bite-sized listening portions.
It's a nice,
watching
simple,
portions.
It's a good one to definitely check out. Good one to, like, if you're showing someone it, I would think this would be a good one to kind of just...
Yeah.
Maybe with the gore, maybe not, but like it depends on the person you're showing.
Well, if they want to get into Tales from the Crypt and they don't like gore, then they're barking up the wrong tree. But
it's not. This is probably one of the more gorier ones I can think of.
It varies.
Yeah. The next episode is season 3, episode 3, The Trap. Mike, I'd like to thank you for being on the episode again.
It was a pleasure.
Awesome. You can email the Good Evening Kitties podcast at goodeveningpod@gmail.com. I'd love to get emails. I'd love to get 5-star reviews from iTunes. There's also a Patreon page that you can donate to. There's a Facebook page you can join. There's so much stuff, and you can find these podcasts pretty much anywhere. I'm on CastBox, Podbean, Podbay, iTunes, stuff like that. I'm on all kinds of stuff. So
you don't know what you're on?
It's on a lot. It's a lot to cover. So I'm everywhere. So go ahead and check it out. Tell your friends. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And again, thanks for listening.
I just had quite a scare. I actually thought my heart was beating again.
I'm Chelsea, and I love true crime.
And I'm David, and I love horror movies. And we co-host Based on a True Crime, a podcast where we discuss the real cases that inspired some of the most gruesome crimes and criminals to grace the big and small screens.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Google Play if you're interested in hearing the true stories behind some really great movies, including In Cold Blood, The Town That Dreaded Sundown, and Murder by Numbers.
So grab some popcorn, with extra fake butter topping of course, and join us as we explore just how much of the movies that kept you awake at night are real.